All right. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for attending today's inaugural Power Lunch series. Um, One of the reasons we're doing this is that we are in such a time of change. And I think we're all taking a look and seeing what's important in our lives as we go through these changes. And we're going to leverage our faculty and our alumni who are great sources of knowledge. And also we want to be able to give you what are the new opportunities and strategies in today's new world. So for some people are on this because they are looking to learn what's going on in the world of work. Some people want to learn a new skill. Some people are looking to change careers or start a new career. And we hope to be able to make this worthwhile for all of those. Manhattanville College prides itself on its very strong alumni network, and faculty network, and administrators. We all come from the world of the corporate world. And so there's a lot of incentives to keep engaged with us. So some very brief housekeeping, and I promise I'm going to go right to this before I introduce Julie officially. I think everyone is muted, but if you can check and just mute your microphones until a question and answer at the end, and then I'd love to have you all unmute yourselves. And so this way we can eliminate background noise. Our interview itself with Julie is going to be brief. It'll be no more than 15-20 minutes because we want to be able to have a Q&A at the end. If you have any immediate questions or concerns, you can utilize that chat box, which is on the bottom Zoom toolbar. And Brian Sandy, my colleague, who's the Director of Graduate Admissions, is going to be monitoring that. And just so you know, I will always be available. I'll be available after this interview, and I'll also be available anytime you need me, because we work right through the summer if you'd like to speak further. And I love meeting, students. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Julie Zhong. And Julie Zhong graduated our Master's of Science in Business Leadership. Julie, was that in 2018?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, that was just 20. I think I walked in
2018.
Yeah.
And so she's, oh my gosh, that was my Alexa watch. How crazy is that? So she's a talent leader with a passion for innovation and transformation. And Julie Zhong designs and implements innovative learning solutions to enhance employee capabilities and drive business impact. Julie is currently the Director of Global Leadership Development at Mastercard, our neighbor, and is responsible for the design and implementation of global learning curriculum for almost 4,000 people managers at Mastercard. In this role, Julie is also accountable for developing strategies and providing thought leadership for key global learning solutions. And prior to joining Mastercard, Julie worked for Deloitte at supporting clients with creative solutions around program management, workforce planning and analysis support, and post-merger integration. I remember Deloitte during that time personally. So Julie, thank you for joining us today. And for those of you who joined us early, Julie is 2 days away from taking maternity leave at Mastercard. And we were talking ahead of time. Mastercard is such a great company because they have a great maternity policy.
They do. So yeah, we're very excited. Thank you for having me, Dean. Definitely, this has been a really great, experience going to Manhattanville. So always happy to come and talk to any potential, people who want to, follow my route to attend these lovely programs. Mm-hmm.
Very good. So let me just start you with maybe a reason why a lot of people are here on this line is that everyone has a different reason to want to consider pursuing a master's degree or to actually pursue their master's degree. And I wanted to know, what was yours during that time?
That's a really great question. I've always wanted to do graduate degree, I knew, but I also knew I wanted to gain some experience first. So I think around maybe around 7 or 8 years after I've actually started working, then I was actually debating between MBA and a master's degree. And at that time, actually, I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of the perspective on MBA was that, you wanted to change your career to go to another field, then MBA is a great option. But if you want to more further kind of strengthen or go into a specific subject matter area that you're really passionate about, that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to, go there from a careers perspective, then that master's degree might be a better fit. So as I was looking at that, I thought master's degree was a better fit than MBA for me at that point in my career. And then looking at a lot of programs, I wanted a program that would be where I was passionate. And at that time, I was in a more of a program operationals role, and I was very passionate about leadership development. I knew that I wanted to get into that space, and so I looked a lot across kind of what's available, and I saw that the leadership, the business leadership kind of degree at Manhattanville was very practical, very hands-on, and a lot of the kind of my Mastercard colleagues and friends told me that there's a lot of, the faculty is very much in the field, like, not just professors, but people who've been in the field. So I was really excited about it. So I decided to pursue a degree in business leadership, and I think it was a really good decision.
That's great. And so, Julie, just quickly, were you working full-time at Mastercard and pursuing your degree at the same time?
Yes, I was. So I took my time. It definitely took my time. I started off with like 3 courses, very ambitious, and then realized that that was too much. And the classes are small, like small cohorts. So like it was actually really, really great. But I think 3 was too much. So I kind of scaled it down to 2, and at some points it became 1. Sometimes it was 2. But definitely I took my time because I wanted to really make the most of the experience. And I think for that, I had to kind of pace myself.
Very good. Thank you. You brought up so much important information just in that answer, because a lot of our students have questions when they first, when they first start to apply to say, what is the difference between an MBA program? What about a specialized master's degree? And one of the things that I'd like to do is that one size does not fit all. There's an MBA is good for, as you said, for certain careers, where specialized master's degrees are great for other careers. So if anyone wants to speak further on that, that is something I welcome, because it's a question that we all have. So Mastercard is such an admired company, and I think that a lot of people on this call would like to be able to work for a Mastercard or a company like Mastercard. So what are the important skills people need to pursue a career at Mastercard as you know it?
I would say there are 3 key things, three key skills. One of them is the ability to be flexible, to be able to pivot. As we can see with the recent, COVID-19 pandemic, we've all had to pivot. Things that we started off in the beginning of the year that we thought we're going to focus on, we are not focusing on them anymore. We've had to pivot. We've had to really be flexible. We've had to really shift in our priorities, and including the way that we work, right? And so I think that spirit of being flexible and being able to operate in the gray is really important, because not everything's going to be black and white. You're going to be comfortable with operating in ambiguity. So that's definitely the first thing. I would say the second thing is we're global companies, and you can never get anything done by yourself. We have to collaborate. And so the spirit of collaboration is really important. Being able to be respectful and be inclusive of other voices is really important. I'm constantly working on program designs with our regional colleagues, and it's important to make sure their voices are in the design, because we're rolling things out to all the regions. It's not, purchase decides how things are. So I think being inclusive, making sure you're including people's voices, and making sure that at the same time you put your foot down when you need to and say, hey, we've got all your perspective. We're going to go forward with a certain decision. That's really important too, because we also don't want a consensus-driven, kind of culture, right? So that'll be the second thing. And I would say the third thing is, it seems so common sense, is to be a decent human being. And I would say that when we think about Mastercard, what sets us apart is we have a winning culture with decency at its core. And it sounds very fluffy, but what it really means is that we don't just care about winning, which is what we achieve, but it's how we do it, and it's that concept of being decent. We don't want to, we want to win, but we don't want to knock people down along the way. So I think that spirit of decency is really, kind of everyone kind of feels it, everyone embraces it. So I think those would be like the three key things that really sets, people apart when we think about who's the right fit for Mastercard.
I could not, that is so interesting. That was a leadership course in those 3 bullets. And it's fascinating to know that how the company culture has to fit those that are applying. You have to stand for those, for what the company stands for. You have to be aligned with what the company stands for. When the two of us were talking, you were talking about how Mastercard values human skills. Is that part of what you just mentioned, or are those in addition to what you just mentioned? What are the human skills?
Yeah. So we've kind of returned it, instead of soft skills, professional skills, we call them human skills, because obviously, with AI and technology, there's been a lot of kind of, talk about, well, are humans even necessary? Obviously they are, and in many, many ways they are. And so we want to stress, the importance of human skills, because one of the things we emphasize a lot is career development at Mastercard. We want people that it's not, that a career trajectory is not just going upwards, but it's actually going across, because we want you guys to have, people to have as much robust career experiences as possible. And so in order to kind of go from one role to the other, in order to go from product to sales, to marketing, to supporting functions, to mergers and acquisitions, there are all these, human skills that are very much transferable, right? Because as important as technical skills are, we want to stress human skills as just as important, if not more, because that's what's going to get you to, each of the, the different roles that you're going to have throughout your career at Mastercard. And some of those might be, design thinking. Like, you always have to be able to, no matter what role you're in, be able to think about your consumer, your customer, right? Doesn't matter if I'm in HR right now and my customers are the people managers. I need to think about the solution in terms of their needs in my mind when I'm developing solutions, just like a product person is thinking about our customers, right? So design thinking is one of them. The other is obviously like communication, that's always very important, things like that. And just being able to have, like the digital fluency, no matter what your role is, even if it doesn't have directly anything to do with like AI or APIs, we want to make sure that you have a fundamental level of digital fluency. And so that's another example of like human skills. So I would say that these are what we consider them, and it's important from a career development perspective, which is very important to us.
Wow, Julie, what a great segue. It's so funny. You mentioned so many of the courses, so many of the skills that you need that we actually have courses for. And, in the spring, our graduate programs, we're going to offer a class in design thinking. One of our classes is communicating effectively. I'm so glad that you're mentioning we do project management, risk management. Our students need to be able to work effectively in groups. So thank you so much. And that brings me to a good segue. When you were a student at Manhattanville, what course or class did you find most applicable or most challenging? You can answer either one.
I would probably say that I think what I found, a lot of the courses were very applicable, because to your point, they were very practical. And so there wasn't like one or two that I thought was necessarily, the only thing. Everything made, I think everyone's experiences was really helpful and, was really insightful. And the professors definitely brought a lot of really interesting experiences and real time, kind of challenges, real world challenges to us. I think what was most challenging for me was the thesis. And that's, for me, I actually waited 2 years after I finished my program to do the thesis because I needed to be inspired. Everyone works very differently, right? But for me, I knew in order to do my thesis, I had to be inspired. And I wasn't inspired at that moment, after I finished my program. And I think, to my earlier point about pacing, everyone kind of, especially if you're full-time working and doing it, it's okay to take a break. I've taken like 2 sabbaticals. One was, in the beginning, somewhere between first and second year. And the second one was actually after I finished the program. I kind of took a little bit more of a break before I felt like I was rejuvenated and inspired. And when I found my topic that I was really excited about, then I think it just became a much easier process. But until then, it was very difficult because, obviously there are a lot of requirements once you get to the thesis. But I think for me, I had to be inspired. I had to know that the topic, what I end up writing and end up developing and creating would be useful for me to apply to my job, at Mastercard. And so that took a little bit of time to figure out. But once I did, then it was good.
Very good. What was your topic? I'm just curious now.
Yeah, it was a leadership at all levels, which I was really excited about. Just the concept of moving, the concept of leadership doesn't come with like necessarily a title. So not just people managers. You could be the most junior analyst and still be able to, you still need that leadership development. And you don't need to have a certain team or title in order to be a leader. So to me, leadership at all levels and the more practical aspect was just moving leadership development from kind of these one-time learning interventions to more of like a learning journey, so that they have more continuous learning, which we're actually implementing right now, which we're really excited about. And I think actually sometimes when you have these kind of crises, you want to make sure that you make the most of it, because sometimes that's when the companies are forced to change. We're a company that was very much in-person training, but because of what's happening right now, we can actually push more virtual learning journeys out to our participants. So we're excited to do that, and we're excited to see kind of how people will kind of react to it, and we'll learn. Obviously, we won't get it right immediately the first time. We'll adjust, but I think that that was one of the things that I was able to take from my thesis and to apply it in my real job.
That is fantastic. Everything that you said resonates so much with me right now, because I'm working with thesis students, and the idea is that I'm trying to not make it a torturous experience, but I want it to be really relevant. So I spend a lot of time with them saying, what are you doing in your job, or what do you aspire to do in your job, and let's make this real. Let's get you to the level that you're a thought leader in that area that you're looking to do. So that it's very exciting. And I love some of the things that you're saying about the ability to pivot and operate in the gray, all very important skills. So I can talk with you forever, but I'd like to be able to be mindful of people's lunch hours. I'm wondering what people are eating right now. And so this is an opportunity that you can unmute yourself. And we're a relatively small group, and so let's be polite, but if you would like, you can, it's so funny, I'm working across so many different platforms. So some has hand raises and some have things in the chat, but let's be a little bit more low key. And if someone has a question, please feel free to ask. So thank you so much all. By the way, thank you so much everyone for participating. So otherwise I can call on people, which is what I like to do in class. So,
I always have a question. So I'm just curious, because I definitely agree in saying that company culture has such a big impact on productivity, passion, and even commitment among employees. But what impact has this remote work and this virtual setting had on the company culture at Mastercard? And how do you find yourself reacting in different ways and adjusting to this new normal?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I think that it's so interesting because, everyone now is working remote, and this is definitely not the case, right? Where I think in the past, people have worked 1 or 2 days remote. And so we've definitely had to, everyone has had to adjust very much so, to the point where, obviously we're trying to make sure our people managers are really, conscious of what are some of the things. And some of the things that we specifically really focus on, other than the kind of the typical, how do you manage remote teams, we really emphasize them caring about the mental well-being of their people. Because what we're hearing right now is that, with the work-life balance it's off, because you're constantly in meetings, and you're also, you're kind of, there's nowhere to go, right? There's not a lot of places for you to go. And so people end up working a lot. And so kind of that professional life bleeds into the personal. And so what we've had to do is really kind of really have our managers be conscious of, make sure, that you're taking a look at the mental well-being and mental health of your people, because there's a lot that they're going through. A lot of them are parents. They're at the same time that they are an employee, they're also a parent, they're also a teacher, and that's a lot. And some of them have elderly parents that they have to take care of. It's a lot on their plate. So we want to be very conscious of that, and we want managers to be extra conscious of that. And so that's one of the things definitely that we've had to shift, is to really have them focus on that, because that's, it's not just about productivity, it's about making sure that they're truly caring about the well-being of their people. And I would say the second thing is just to be able to make sure that we're flexible, because people need to be working at different hours. In the past, when you've had to work 1 or 2 days, your schedule isn't that different, right, than your work day. But now with kids, with elderly parents, there's a lot of things that's at play. And so it may mean that the parent needs to, the employee who's a parent may need to, work in the wee hours, versus attending certain calls during the day. And the manager should be, be respectful and understanding of that. So I think those are some of the things that, we've been very much, emphasizing, because we want to make sure that, people are comfortable working remotely, but we also know that it's a new normal. It's for everyone. Everyone has to adjust, and everyone needs to kind of just be mindful of these things that we haven't seen before when we're in person.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Asma, for that great question. Other questions?
Hi, Julie. This is Brian with the admission team at Manhattanville. I want to first thank you so much for joining us today. So close to maternity leave, and I've been thrilled to listen to the presentation and gain a lot of knowledge for myself personally. I was curious, as someone that's evaluating talent for a company as large as Mastercard, and looking not only at entry-level positions, but leadership positions as well, is there something that within a master's degree that really stands out when you're interviewing candidates, maybe for director positions or executive level positions? Are there certain attributes that you see that might really set them apart? Because I found that having a master's degree allows you in the door in many instances. So I'm curious as to why and what attributes you might be looking for within that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Brian. And I think that definitely the learning agility is a big part of it. Seeing obviously a master's degree in a certain field, I think it tells us that, this person constantly wants to learn. And that's one of the things we're always, actually one of the components when we evaluate the potential of employees, of our talent. So not necessarily the performance aspect, but actually from a potential standpoint, one of the key factors is actually learning agility, which means for us that they're constantly curious. They constantly want to learn something new, and they're ready to, take on, roles that they may not, have ever had experience with. And so we've really had to pivot, where in the past, I think we've looked for people with 20 years of plus experience, right, in certain areas. But, in the past, I would say 10, 15 years, we've come to realize that, we don't want to hire for that. We want to hire for potential, and the potential where you know that they have they fit obviously the culture of Mastercard, but also that they constantly want to learn. So we know that we put them in stretch assignments, or we put them in roles where they may not be 100% familiar with. They're going to learn. They're going to learn quickly. They're going to ask questions. They're going to be resourceful, and they're going to leverage others, to get what needs to get done and things like that. So I would say the master's degree definitely is helpful because we see that someone wants to constantly learn, and that's really important for us in terms of evaluating and thinking about talent for the long term.
Oh, that was
awesome.
so well
Thank
said.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Yeah, other question.
Hi, Julie. My name is Loriana Prisco. I'm actually with Deloitte. I'm a graduate of, hi. I know we could probably talk all day about that, right? I'm also a graduate of Manhattanville. I got my master's in HR at Manhattanville. I met my husband at Manhattanville. So a lot of great ties to the school. And I actually am an adjunct professor as well in our adult accelerated bachelor's program. So I have a question, and I think it's something that, anyone that's wearing a talent hat or in a role similar to yours, it's something that we give a lot of thought to. So when you have a leader that is, two leaders, right? So a leader that's maybe been in role for some time as a leader, and then a new leader, how do you treat that at Mastercard in terms of training, programming, and I think more importantly for someone that has been in role, how do we make sure that they still feel totally equipped as a leader, especially as the world is changing, and what resources does Mastercard provide to those two different groups?
Yeah, no, those are really great questions, because you're right. I think it's easy to prioritize kind of the newer managers, right? And when we talk about newer managers, I think for us, it's not necessarily new to management, because we do have a lot of experienced managers that come in from other companies. But what we do is our kind of new manager program, so to say, is actually to level set the expectations and, of what being a people manager at Mastercard means. So what's the culture like? What are the kind of leadership behaviors that we expect them to exhibit? What exactly is their role? That being said, that's for the newer ones. For the existing ones, to your point, what we try to do is to really kind of see what the need is out there. We do a lot of kind of pulse surveys. Recently, we did a couple of pulse surveys, right, as a result of COVID. And we find that, there's a couple of things that they need. They need more support with, a lot of the, managing remotely, because a lot of them haven't done it before. A lot of them are also have also expressed, kind of how to handle some of these difficult conversations, right, with the racial injustice in the U.S. It's hard. It's hard to handle those conversations. It's a difficult conversation to handle. So how do you do that, right? And so what we've been doing is we're doing a combination of resources that's just self-paced online. They could do any at any time. We're also doing a lot of what we call open circles, which is really more intimate conversations led by executives that gives people the platform to really kind of voice their thoughts and their challenges, in some of these more difficult conversations. And so we try to do a combination to reach the mass, because to your point, it's not just the new managers and new leaders, but it's the existing leaders as well that still need the support, because these things come up. And it's just, how do you deal with them, right? And so I think, we're trying different avenues, because some people will feel comfortable voicing their thoughts in like an open circle. But some people would actually not feel comfortable. And so we would have smaller kind of conversations, with smaller groups of people. But we'll give kind of like what we call like facilitator guides, or things like to, for sometimes, people in HR, sometimes it's the leaders, to facilitate some of those conversations, because that's really necessary. So I think that has been really important for us to make sure that we get to people, that we reach the mass, but we also make sure that we're listening to what their needs are at the moment that they need it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Julie, I want to be mindful of your time. Do you have time for one more question?
Sure.
Great. All right, the lucky candidate. Last question for Julie, but Brian and I will stay on. I know that I'd love to be able to. We all can stay on and chat with one another. I hope I didn't make that too scary. All right, so we have a shy group for now, but I like that. So Julie, just last words before you go off on your maternity leave, but when will you be coming back to Mastercard?
Yeah, I'll be coming back at the end of November, beginning of December.
Very good, very good. We wish you all the best, all luck. Of course, Julie's also on my advisory board, so we will have a fall meeting. And thank you so much for that. We'll keep you, we'll keep you informed of that. But so Julie, you can leave this meeting, but we all can stay on, and Brian and I can also answer any questions you might have. And if there's anything that you need me to forward over to Julie, I'm happy to do that too. But I see that some people are moving around. Any other last parting words? All right, Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Lori, so it's so nice seeing you. I thought I saw you in the corner of my screen. Very good.
Thank you. You too. We need to catch up.
We need to catch up. Can Brian and I be of any assistance right now regarding other questions or regarding our degree programs? I can share what we offer. So
I do have a question, actually, and it's not, I haven't seen an update come through in a while, but the SHRM certification, I think last year, did that go virtual?
So interesting you say that. So that's a great question. Thank you. It's almost like you're a plant, but Dominique and I are taking over our SHRM certification and recertification programs, and coming this fall, they'll be starting up in October in a hybrid format. So it'll be a combination of in-class sessions as well as online sessions. So it's really the best of both worlds. And our in-class sessions will be held on Saturdays. And a lot of people are looking to gain their SHRM certification. For those of you who don't know what SHRM is, it's the Society for Human Resource Management. It is the certification body for those who are looking to work in the world of HR management. So the combination of having your SHRM certification and having a master's degree in HR or something similar is extraordinarily powerful. And we're getting a lot of interest, of course. So we will keep you posted, but we do have a website page. Thank you for asking that.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Hi, hello, Gina. I'm just going to jump in with a quick public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
Yeah, just quickly and one thing I will say is I found this to be an extraordinarily fun event to participate in and observe, because Manhattanville as a community has representatives from students that are interested in joining Manhattanville, alumni from Manhattanville, teachers, professors that teach our adult education program. Julie is an alum of Manhattanville, so it's been phenomenal to see kind of this holistic Manhattanville community come together. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. And just with that said, for those that have not yet started their studies at Manhattanville, throughout the event, I have been placing my personal, my Manhattanville email, as well as the application fee waiver for joining the event in the chat. So please copy and paste that if you have that for future reference. My email, obviously, for any questions about the application and admission processes, but also the fee waiver is good throughout the remainder of 2020. And it is a $75 application fee waiver value, which covers the full cost of your application if you choose.
And if you know of anyone who's interested in speaking further, I really do welcome just setting up, private one-on-one Zoom. So if you're shy about it, or if you're getting this information for someone else, I really do encourage you to reach out. And what am I doing this summer? I'm enjoying my time in front of my computer and meeting my fellow students, my prospective students, and my faculty. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to have another Power Lunch series with another one of our alum next month. And the idea is to let's each keep each other engaged and learn about new opportunities. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you so much.
Thank you.